The Great Hall of the Galactic Council stretched wider than most human cities. Crystal pillars rose like frozen waterfalls, each one glowing with soft blue light. Ambassador Jiho stood at the center of it all, feeling very small. His black suit looked plain next to the colorful aliens around him. Some floated in the air like living clouds. Others looked like walking diamonds. A few resembled giant insects with too many eyes. Jiho held a datapad in his steady hands. On it was Earth's application to join the Galactic Council. Humanity had worked for 20 years to reach this moment. They had learned alien languages, built faster ships, and proven they could travel between stars. Now they wanted to be part of the galaxy's most important group. Speaker Velthon, Jiho said, bowing his head. I present Earth's formal request for membership in the Galactic Council. The being he spoke to was beautiful and terrible at the same time. Velthon looked like a statue made of living crystal. Light moved through his body in slow waves. When he spoke, his voice sounded like wind chimes in a storm. Ah yes, Velthon said. The humans from the Killerworld. A sound filled the great hall. It took Jiho a moment to realize what it was. Laughter. The aliens were laughing at him. A creature that looked like purple smoke with yellow eyes drifted closer. Did they really call their planet Earth? She asked. How boring. We should call it what it really is. Death World 377. More laughter echoed through the hall. Jiho felt his face grow hot, but he kept his expression calm. His training had prepared him for this. Earth's leaders knew the aliens looked down on humanity. Distinguished beings, Jiho said, raising his voice slightly. Earth may seem harsh to some species, but humans have thrived there for thousands of years. Thrived? A tall, insect-like alien clicked his mandibles together. You call constant warfare thriving? Your species fights itself more than any other intelligent race we know. The alien's name was Zixtar, and he represented the Chitauri Empire. His forearms gestured wildly as he spoke. We have studied your history, humans. You have never had a single year without war somewhere on your planet. You fight over land, resources, ideas, even invisible concepts you call religion. That shows our passion for our beliefs, Jiho replied carefully. It shows your inability to evolve past violence, Velthon said. His crystal body flashed brighter. Civilized species learn to solve problems with words, not weapons. A floating cloud of gas that called itself Nebulan Prime spoke up. Its voice sounded like whispers from far away. We have seen your planet's data. The gravity alone would crush most of our people. The atmospheric pressure would make our ships implode. And those weather patterns. Static electricity crackled through the cloud. Storms that can level entire cities. Temperature swings that would kill most life forms. Our world has made us strong, Jiho said. Your world has made you desperate, Velthon corrected. You fight because you must. You build weapons because your planet tries to kill you every day. This is not strength. This is survival instinct run wild. Minho sat in the human observation section watching everything with sharp eyes. As Earth's military attaché, his job was to observe and report back to command. What he saw worried him. The aliens weren't just dismissing humanity. They were actively mocking them. A small furry alien with 6 legs spoke up. I have a question for the human. How many of your people die each year from your planet's natural disasters? Jiho checked his datapad. Approximately 50,000, give or take. Gasps filled the hall. Several aliens made sounds of horror. 50,000? Velthon's light pulsed rapidly. That is more than most species lose in a century of space exploration. And that's just from weather and earthquakes, Zixtar added. We haven't even discussed your predators. Your planet has creatures that eat other creatures alive. Most civilized worlds evolved past such barbarism millions of years ago. Nebulan Prime drifted higher. We once sent a scientific expedition to a world similar to yours. The gravity was only twice our normal. Half our team died in the first hour. The other half lasted 2 days before the local plant life poisoned them. Plants that kill? A small blue alien squeaked.
How horrible!
Earth has many such plants, Jiho admitted. We learn to avoid them or use them carefully. This brought even more laughter. A tall, thin alien with silver skin shook his head. They use poison plants carefully. What's next? Do you swim with creatures that have sharp teeth? Actually, yes, Jiho said. We call them sharks. Some humans swim with them for sport. The hall fell silent for a moment. Then the laughter became louder than before. Sport. Zixtar clicked rapidly. They risk death for entertainment. Velthon raised one crystal hand and the noise died down. This confirms what we suspected. Humans are clearly not ready for civilized society. Your application is denied. Wait, a new voice called out. It belonged to Gixara, an alien from a species that looked like walking trees. Perhaps we should not be so quick to judge. Every species brings something unique to the council. What could they possibly contribute? Velthon asked. Well, Gixara said slowly, they did develop faster than light travel in only 2 centuries after discovering electricity. Most species take at least 5 centuries. Because they were desperate to escape their death world, Nebulan Prime whispered. Minho watched as several aliens nodded in agreement. The humans weren't being judged on their achievements. They were being judged on their origins. It wasn't fair, but fairness wasn't guaranteed in galactic politics. Velthon considered for a long moment. His crystal body dimmed and brightened several times. Finally, he spoke. Very well. We will offer humanity a compromise, Jiho straightened. This wasn't in any of the scenarios Earth had planned for. We will grant you probationary membership, Velthon continued. But you must prove your worth first. What kind of proof? Jiho asked. Establish a successful colony on a world of our choosing, Velthon said. Show us that humans can build something instead of just surviving and fighting. Which world? Minho called out from the observation area. Breaking protocol. Velthon's gaze fixed on him. Kythera Prime. The hall went completely silent. Even the constant humming of the life support system seemed to fade away. Gixara's leaves rustled nervously. Speaker, perhaps that is too harsh for a first test. They claim their death world made them strong, Velthon said. Let them prove it. Zixtar's mandibles clicked rapidly. 3 expeditions have tried to colonize Kythera Prime. The Vorthax sent their best terraforming team. They lasted 72 hours. The Chitauri Empire lost a full military science division. Another alien added, 5 days before the planet consumed them all. And the Nebulans? Someone asked. Nebulan Prime's form flickered with embarrassment. Our ships dissolved in the upper atmosphere. We never reached the surface. Jiho looked at his datapad, calling up what little information Earth had about Kythera Prime. The basic facts made his blood run cold. Surface gravity 3 times Earth normal. Toxic atmosphere. Temperature swings of over 200 degrees between day and night. Indigenous life forms that had evolved into perfect killing machines. It was worse than Earth in every measurable way. Do you accept? Velthon asked. Jiho thought about the ships waiting in Earth's orbit. Thousands of humans ready to build new lives among the stars. He thought about the families hoping for a better future. He thought about humanity's dream of joining the galactic community. We accept, he said. The laughter that followed was different this time, not mocking but anticipatory. The aliens were looking forward to watching humanity fail spectacularly. Excellent, Velthon said. You have 1 year to establish a permanent colony of at least 1,000 humans on Kythera Prime. The colony must be self-sufficient and demonstrate clear signs of growth. And if we succeed? Jiho asked. Then you will have earned your place in civilized society, Velthon replied. But we do not expect that to happen. As the session ended and aliens began filing out, Jiho heard snippets of conversation, taking bets on how long they last. I give them a week. Too generous. 3 days maximum. The entertainment value alone makes this worthwhile. Minho joined Jiho as they walked toward the exit. Sir, they're setting us up to fail. I know, Jiho said quietly. But maybe that's exactly what we need, sir. They think Earth made us weak and desperate, Jiho explained. But what if they're wrong? What if Earth made us into exactly what we need to be? As they reached their ship, Jiho sent a message back to Earth. The response would determine humanity's future in the galaxy. The message was simple. They laughed at our killer world. Now we have a chance to show them what that really means. The landing pod slammed into the surface of Kythera Prime like metal fists punching through hell itself. Lightning crashed around them in sheets of white-hot fury. The ground shook with each thunderclap, and the air itself seemed to burn with electric fire. Above them, the volcanic caldera spat molten rock into the storm clouds, creating a light show that would have been beautiful if it weren't so deadly. Colonel Taehyun was the first to step out of his pod. The gravity hit him like a truck, making his knees buckle for a moment before his training kicked in. The environmental suit system screamed warnings in his helmet display. Radiation levels were through the roof. The air outside would kill him in seconds. The ground temperature was hot enough to melt lead. Sound off, he called into his radio. All teams report status. Landing Team Alpha, all alive, came Sergeant Wu Jin's voice. Pod took some damage, but we're mobile. Landing Team Beta, ready for action, reported Lieutenant Jisoo. Though I think my suit just called this place 16 different kinds of illegal. Landing Team Gamma, operational, added Corporal Siwon. Sir, you need to see this. Taehyun looked where Siwon was pointing. 100 meters away, something was moving through the lava flow. It looked like a cross between a centipede and a bulldozer, covered in metallic scales that glowed red-hot. The creature was easily 20 meters long and seemed completely comfortable swimming through molten rock. Contact, Taehyun said calmly. Native life form, size large, appears hostile. The creature turned toward them, sensing the vibrations from their landing. For a moment, human and alien predator stared at each other across the hellscape. Then the creature did something unexpected. It turned away and continued moving through the lava, apparently deciding the humans weren't worth the effort. It ignored us, Jisoo said with surprise. We're too small to be a threat, and too armored to be easy prey. Taehyun realized. Move out. We have a perimeter to establish. While the Marines set up defensive positions, Commander Nari emerged from the command pod and immediately began taking environmental readings. Her instruments painted a picture that should have been impossible for any Earthborn life to survive. Base camp. This is Nari, she reported to Captain Yuna, who was still aboard the orbiting New Sol. Surface conditions are as bad as predicted, but they're not random. There's a pattern to everything. Explain. Yuna's voice crackled through the radio. Nari walked carefully to the edge of a small lava pool, her boots designed to handle extreme heat. The lightning strikes follow specific paths. The lava flows move in cycles. Even the ground tremors happen in a rhythm. It's like the planet has a heartbeat. A very angry heartbeat, added Dr. Suman, who was setting up scientific equipment nearby. But Nari's right. This isn't chaos. It's a system. Dr. Suman had volunteered for the most dangerous job on the mission. While everyone else focused on survival, her task was to study the native life forms and find ways to coexist with them. So far, she had counted 17 different species within visual range, and every single one of them was perfectly adapted to conditions that would kill most galactic life forms instantly. Captain, Dr. Suman said, watching a group of crystalline, spider-like creatures the size of cars. I think the previous expeditions made a fundamental error. They treated this planet like an enemy to be defeated. But what if it's not an enemy? What if it's just different? Different how? Yuna asked. On Earth we have symbiotic relationships, sharks and cleaner fish, humans and intestinal bacteria. What if Cathara Prime works the same way? What if the planet doesn't want to kill visitors? What if it wants partners? Engineer Daeho looked up from where he was assembling a power collection unit. Partners for what? Look around, Dr. Suman said, gesturing at the volcanic landscape. This planet is generating enormous amounts of energy. Geothermal power from the lava, electrical power from the storms, chemical power from the atmospheric reactions. What if the native life forms aren't just surviving here? What if they're helping the planet manage all that energy? The idea was so simple and so radical that everyone stopped what they were doing to consider it. The Galactic Council had classified Kythera Prime as a death world, but what if they were wrong? What if it was actually a power plant? The crystalline spiders, Dr. Suman continued, pointing to the car-sized creatures she had been observing. They're not just sitting there. They're arranged in patterns around the lava vents, like they're channeling the heat flow. Daeho activated his thermal sensors and aimed them at the spider creatures. The readings made him whistle in amazement. They're conducting thermal energy. The spiders are acting like living heat sinks, moving energy from the volcanic core to the surface in controlled patterns. And the lightning? Nari asked. Dr. Suman pointed to tall metallic trees that seemed to grow directly from solid rock. Those aren't really trees. They're organic lightning rods. They're collecting electrical energy from the storms and feeding it into the ground. Into what? Taehyun asked. Into the root system, Dr. Suman said excitedly. Look at the ground scans. There's a massive network of conductive organic material running under the entire continent. The planet has a nervous system. The implications hit everyone at the same time. Kythera Prime wasn't trying to kill visitors. It was trying to communicate with them. The previous expeditions had been destroyed because they attacked or ignored the planet's attempts at contact. Dr. Suman, Captain Yuna's voice came through the radio with barely controlled excitement. Are you telling me this planet is alive? Not alive exactly, Dr. Suman replied. More like aware. It's a massive ecosystem that's evolved to work as a single entity. The individual creatures are like cells in a body. They each have a function, and they all work together. And the function is? Energy management, Deho said, understanding completely now. This planet is sitting on massive energy sources. Volcanic, electrical, chemical, maybe even nuclear. The ecosystem evolved to harvest and distribute that energy safely. So when the Vorthak tried to terraform the valley, Nari began. They were disrupting the energy flow, Dr. Suman finished. The planet's immune system responded by sending that underground creature to remove the interference. And when the Chitauri set up their military base on the plateau, they were blocking the electrical grid. The carnivorous plants were actually maintenance organisms trying to clear the obstruction. Taihyun nodded grimly. And the Nebulan's ships dissolved because they were flying through the planet's power transmission system. Exactly, Dr. Suman said. Every time, the aliens were treated as a virus to be eliminated. But what if we approach this differently? What if we offer to help instead of trying to take control? Help how? Yuna asked. Dr. Suman walked toward the nearest group of crystalline spiders. They were beautiful creatures, their translucent bodies catching and refracting the light from the lava flows. As she approached, they turned to watch her, but they didn't retreat or attack. These spiders are managing thermal energy, but their efficiency could be improved, she said. We have material science knowledge they don't. We could help them build better heat exchangers. And in return? Taehyun asked, keeping his weapon ready but not aimed. In return, we become part of the system instead of fighting against it, Dr. Suman said. We help the planet manage its energy, and it provides us with power and protection. She reached slowly into her pack and pulled out a small piece of human-made thermal conductor. It was a simple device designed to move heat efficiently from one place to another. She placed it gently on the ground near the spiders and stepped back. One of the creatures approached the device cautiously. It touched the thermal conductor with what looked like a sensory appendage. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the spider picked up the device and integrated it into its own body structure. The change was immediate and visible. The spider's efficiency at moving thermal energy increased dramatically. The other spiders gathered around, examining their companion's new capability. Then one by one they approached Dr. Suman. They want more, she whispered. Base camp to all teams, Captain Yuna's voice came through the radio. I'm seeing something incredible on the orbital scans. The thermal patterns around your location just changed. The energy flow is becoming more organized. Dr. Suman smiled inside her helmet. Captain, I think we just made first contact. Not with alien visitors, but with the planet itself. Over the next several hours, the human landing teams began a careful process of technological exchange. They offered simple improvements to the native creatures' natural abilities. Better conducting materials for the lightning trees. More efficient thermal systems for the crystalline spiders. Improved chemical processors for the organisms that managed atmospheric balance. In return, the planet began to change around them. The lightning strikes became less random, avoiding the human landing zones. The lava flows shifted to provide natural barriers against the most dangerous predators. The atmospheric composition in their immediate area improved slightly, reducing the strain on their life support systems. This is impossible, Engineer Deho said, as he watched a group of native creatures working with human tools to build what looked like a geothermal power plant. Captain Yuna stared at the display screen in front of her. The image showed a planet that looked like it had been painted by nightmares. Kethra Prime spun slowly in the darkness of space, its surface covered in angry red swirls and jagged black lines. Lightning flickered constantly across its face, creating a web of electric fury that never stopped. That's our new home? Asked Lieutenant Donghae, standing beside her on the bridge of the colony ship New Seoul. His voice carried the doubt that everyone felt, but few spoke aloud. According to the Galactic Council, yes, Yuna replied. She touched the screen, zooming in on different sections of the planet. Each view looked worse than the last. Dr. Hyun, give me the full briefing again. Dr. Hyun walked to the front of the bridge, carrying a tablet loaded with data. She was Earth's best expert on hostile environments, which was why she had been chosen for this mission. Her calm voice contrasted sharply with the terrifying information she shared. Surface gravity is 2.3 times Earth standard, she began. That means everything weighs more than twice what it should. A person who weighs 70 kilograms on Earth will weigh 160 kilograms there. Like carrying another person on your back all the time, Donghae muttered. The atmosphere is 60% sulfur compounds, Dr. Hyun continued. It will eat through most metals within hours. The air pressure at sea level is 4 times what we're used to. Without proper protection, a human would be crushed and poisoned simultaneously. Engineer Daiho looked up from his console. What about the temperature? That's where it gets interesting, Dr. Hyun said with the kind of interest only scientists could have for deadly information. The planet has an unusual rotation. Days last 43 Earth hours. Temperatures swing from minus 100 degrees Celsius at night to plus 150 degrees during the day. A 250-degree difference, Yuna calculated. That would kill most life forms instantly. Most life forms, Dr. Hyun agreed. But Kithra Prime has life, lots of it. And it's all adapted to kill anything that doesn't belong. She switched her tablet to show recordings from previous expeditions. The images were grainy and short, taken by automated probes and dying explorers. The Vorthak expedition lasted 72 hours, she explained. They tried to establish a base in what looked like a calm valley. These are the last images their team sent. The screen showed crystal beings in environmental suits working to set up some kind of shelter. Then something moved in the background. At first, it looked like the ground itself was shifting. Then they realized it wasn't ground at all. It was a massive creature covered in what looked like living rock. The recording ended abruptly. The creature was over 200 meters long, Dr. Hyun said. It seemed to be some kind of worm that lived underground. The Vorthok team never had a chance to run. What about the Chitauri? Asked Colonel Taehyun, the mission's military commander. He had been studying the tactical data since they left Earth. The Chitauri lasted 5 days, Dr. Hyun replied. They brought a full military science division. 300 soldiers with advanced weapons. They set up on a plateau that seemed safe from ground predators. She showed the next set of recordings. Insect-like aliens in combat armor were building fortified positions. Their weapons looked powerful enough to level mountains. For a moment, it seemed like they might succeed. Then the native plants started growing, Dr. Hyun said. The time-lapse footage was horrifying. What had looked like normal vegetation began to move with purpose. Vines thick as tree trunks erupted from the soil. They wrapped around the Chitauri soldiers faster than the aliens could react. The plants seemed to dissolve anything they touched. Carnivorous plants? Commander Nari asked. She was responsible for environmental systems and had seen many strange things during her career. But this was new. Not just carnivorous, Dr. Hyun explained. Intelligent. They coordinated their attack. Some vines distracted the soldiers while others moved in from behind. The plants learned from each encounter and adapted their tactics. And the Nebulans? Yuna asked, though she suspected she already knew the answer. They never made it to the surface. Their ships started dissolving the moment they entered the upper atmosphere. Something in the air ate through their hulls. The entire fleet was destroyed before they could land. The bridge fell silent. Everyone was doing the same calculation in their heads. If 3 advanced alien species had failed so completely, what chance did humans have? There's more, Dr. Hyun said quietly. The planet has what the Council calls weather weapons. Storms that generate plasma instead of rain. Winds that carry corrosive particles. And something they call quake swarms. Earthquakes that happen in patterns like they're being controlled. Engineer Daiho turned away from his console. Captain, I've been running calculations on our equipment. Most of our technology won't last a week in those conditions. Most alien technology didn't last a day, Yuna pointed out. Maybe that's our first advantage. How is dying faster an advantage? Donghae asked. Because we're not them, Dr. Hyun said slowly. She had been thinking about this problem since they left Earth. Every species that failed tried to fight the planet or change it to suit their needs. The Vorthak tried to terraform. The Chitauri tried to conquer. The Nebulans tried to avoid the hostile conditions entirely. What should we do instead? Colonel Taehyun asked. What humans have always done, Dr. Hyun replied. Adapt. She switched her tablet to show images of Earth. Not the peaceful cities and green forests that most people thought of, but the harsh places where humans had learned to live. Humans live in deserts where the temperature changes by 50 degrees every day. We live on mountains where the air is too thin to breathe. We live in places with hurricanes, tornadoes, floods, and earthquakes. We've made homes in swamps full of poisonous creatures and on islands surrounded by sharks. Earth never tried to kill us this aggressively, Nari pointed out. Didn't it? Dr. Hyan asked. Ice ages that lasted thousands of years. Volcanic eruptions that blotted out the sun. Plague diseases that killed half our population. Asteroid impacts that changed the climate overnight. Earth threw everything at us and we survived by becoming something that could survive anything. Yuna felt something stir in her chest. It wasn't hope exactly, but it was the absence of despair. You think we can do this? I think we're the only species that has a chance, Dr. Hyan said. But we have to stop thinking like the aliens did. We can't fight Cathara Prime, we have to work with it. Work with a planet that kills everything? Daiho asked. Work with it the way we learned to work with Earth, Dr. Hyan explained. We don't fight hurricanes. We build our houses to bend in the wind. We don't fight earthquakes. We build foundations that can move. We don't fight poisonous snakes. We learn to avoid them or use their venom for medicine. Colonel Taehyun nodded slowly. You're talking about tactical adaptation instead of strategic domination. Exactly. The aliens all tried to impose their will on the planet. We need to find out what the planet wants and give it to them while getting what we need in return. Commander Nari pulled up environmental data on her screen. The previous expeditions all tried to land in what looked like safe areas. Maybe safe is the wrong strategy. What do you mean? Yuna asked. The safe-looking valley had the underground monster. The safe-looking plateau had killer plants. Maybe the dangerous-looking areas are actually safer because the obvious threats are honest about being threats. Dr. Hyan's eyes lit up. That's brilliant. On Earth, the most dangerous places are often the most stable ones. A volcanic region has regular, predictable danger. You know when the volcano might erupt. A calm-looking swamp might have hidden threats you never see coming. Yuna made a decision that would either save humanity or doom them completely. Dr. Hyan, I want you to find the most dangerous-looking place on Cathara Prime. Somewhere that screams stay away to every rational being. Captain? Donghae asked uncertainly. We're not rational beings, Yuna replied. We're humans. We're the species that looked at the ocean and decided to sail across it. We're the species that saw mountains and decided to climb them. We're the species that looked at the sky and decided to live there. She turned to face her crew. The Galactic Council thinks Earth made us weak and desperate. They're wrong. Earth made us into the kind of crazy that survives when everything else dies. Dr. Hyan was already scanning the planet's surface. I found it, she said. There's a volcanic caldera on the southern continent. It's in the middle of a permanent storm system. Lightning strikes it constantly. The ground is covered in lava flows. Seismic activity indicates regular eruptions. Perfect, Yuna said. That's where we're going. Captain, Colonel Taehyun said carefully, I support the mission, but shouldn't we at least consider a backup landing site? No backup sites, Yuna replied firmly. The aliens failed because they kept looking for easy answers. They wanted to survive Cathara Prime in spite of what it is. We're going to survive because of what it is. As the new soul adjusted course toward the volcanic caldera, Yuna sent a message back to Earth. Beginning final approach to Cathara Prime. Landing in the most dangerous location we can find. If anyone's monitoring our communications, they probably think we've gone insane. Maybe we have. The quantum communication link crackled to life in the Galactic Council chambers, but this time the signal came from a different source. Instead of the military commanders on Cathara Prime, the transmission originated from Earth itself. The massive screens displayed the image of President Seojin, sitting in what appeared to be an office overlooking a bustling spaceport. Honored council members, President Seojin said, his voice carrying the weight of authority that came from leading an entire species. I understand you have concerns about humanity's activities on Cathara Prime. I'm here to address those concerns directly. Speaker Velthon's crystal form pulsed with rapid light patterns. The 24-hour recess had clearly not been enough time for the council to reach a consensus. President Seojin, your people have exceeded the parameters of our agreement. How so? President Seojin asked calmly. You were given permission to establish a colony of 1,000 humans. Velthon replied. Our surveillance indicates your presence on Cathara Prime now numbers in the millions. You're correct, President Seojin admitted without hesitation. But those millions are not all human. The camera view shifted to show a different perspective of the settlement. On Cathara Prime, what the council had thought was a human city was actually something far more complex. Humans worked alongside creatures that had never been seen off-planet before. Some of the beings were clearly native to Kythera Prime, but others were harder to classify. "Allow me to introduce Governor Yuna," President Seogen said. Captain Yuna appeared on screen, but she looked different from the military officer who had led the original landing. Her environmental suit had been replaced by something that seemed to be part technology and part living organism. It moved with her like a second skin, and sections of it pulsed with the same patterns of light that characterized Kytheran life forms. "Honored Council," Yuna said, "I want to clarify something important. We didn't just establish a human colony on Kythera Prime. We established the first joint species settlement in galactic history." "Joint species?" asked Ixara, leaves rustling with confusion. "Humans and Kytherans working together as equal partners," Yuna explained. "The native intelligence offered some of its people the chance to join our society, just as we joined theirs. The result is something entirely new." The camera panned across what could only be described as a miracle of cooperation. Massive crystalline spiders worked with human engineers to construct buildings that seemed to grow from the ground itself. Flying creatures that looked like living lightning bolts carried messages and materials between different sections of the settlement. In the distance, the volcanic landscape had been transformed into a vast garden, where earth plants grew alongside alien vegetation in impossible harmony. "This is unprecedented," whispered Nebulan Prime, electricity crackling nervously through its gaseous form. "It's also irreversible," President Seogen added. "The partnership between humanity and Kythera Prime has created new forms of life. Children are being born who are part human and part Kytheran, not through genetic mixing but through symbiosis that occurs at the cellular level." "That's impossible." Zixtar clicked rapidly. Dr. Suman appeared on screen, holding what looked like a human baby, but the child's skin had a subtle crystalline pattern, and its eyes seemed to reflect light in ways that human eyes never could. "This is Minjae," Dr. Suman said gently. "He was born 3 weeks ago to human parents, but during the pregnancy, Kytheran organisms integrated with the developing fetus. He can survive in environments that would kill a normal human, and he can communicate directly with the planetary intelligence." "You're creating a new species," breathed a small alien from the back of the council chamber. "We're not creating anything," Dr. Suman corrected. "We're allowing natural evolution to take its course in a cooperative environment. This is what happens when two intelligence types work together instead of competing." Admiral Yunji's voice came through the communication system from somewhere off-screen. "Council members, you should also know that we've received requests from 17 other so-called death worlds throughout the galaxy. It seems the planetary intelligences have been in communication with each other for millions of years. They want to establish similar partnerships with humanity." The council chamber erupted in alarmed voices. The implications were staggering. If humans could partner with multiple hostile worlds, they would control resources and technologies beyond anything the galaxy had ever seen. "Furthermore," Admiral Yunji continued, "we've detected quantum communications between Kythera Prime and planets in systems that have never been explored. The network of planetary intelligences appears to span the entire galaxy. You're talking about fundamentally altering the balance of galactic power," Velthon said, his crystal form now blazing with agitated light. "We're talking about expanding the definition of galactic civilization," President Seogen replied. "For millions of years, spacefaring species have ignored or tried to destroy worlds that didn't fit their narrow definition of habitable. We've discovered that many of those worlds are actually intelligent beings who were simply waiting for someone to treat them as equals." Engineer Bongjun appeared on screen from what looked like a massive construction site. Behind him, structures that defied every known law of architecture reached toward the storm-torn sky. "The technologies we're developing here aren't just advanced," he said. "They're transformative. We can terraform dead worlds, heal damaged ecosystems, and create energy sources that last for geological ages. All through cooperation with planetary intelligences," Governor Yuna added. "We're not conquering worlds anymore. We're making friends with them. And those friends are very powerful," came a new voice. The screen switched to show a view from high orbit around Kythera Prime. What the council saw made several alien delegates gasp in shock. The planet was surrounded by what looked like a fleet of living ships. But these weren't metal and plastic constructions. They appeared to be grown rather than built, with organic hulls that pulsed with bioelectric energy. "Meet the Kitharan Space Fleet," said Colonel Tai Hyun, now apparently commanding one of the bioships. "They've been developing spaceflight capabilities for millennia, but they never had a reason to leave their planet. Now they do." "What reason?" Felthon demanded. "To visit their cousins on other worlds," Taehyun replied simply, "and to protect their human partners from anyone who might threaten this cooperation." The threat was clear, though politely delivered. Humanity now had the backing of a planetary intelligence with technologies that made conventional space fleets look like children's toys. "This cannot be allowed to continue," declared a tall, silver-skinned alien. "If humans can partner with hostile worlds, they will upset the entire galactic order." The galactic order was already upset, President Seojin said calmly. "It just took you until now to notice." "What do you mean?" asked Gixara. "How many intelligent species has the Galactic Council contacted in the last 1,000 years?" President Seojin asked. "Approximately 40. Felthon replied after a moment's consideration. "And how many applications for membership have you rejected because the applicant species came from worlds you considered too hostile or uncivilized?" The silence that followed was telling. "According to our research," President Seojin continued, "you've rejected over 300 applications on those grounds. 300 intelligent species that you decided weren't worthy of galactic civilization because they came from killer worlds or had primitive technologies or engaged in uncivilized behaviors. Those species were genuinely dangerous," protested Zixtar. "By whose definition?" Governor Yuna asked. "You laughed at us for coming from a killer world. But that killer world taught us to survive anything, work with anyone, and find solutions where others see only problems. Maybe the species you rejected weren't dangerous. Maybe they were just different. And maybe," Admiral Unji added, "they've been waiting for someone to offer them partnership instead of judgment." The communication screen suddenly multiplied, showing transmissions from dozens of different sources throughout the galaxy. Each one showed a different species, and each species was accompanied by what appeared to be their planetary partner. "The Skaloth from the ice worlds of Arcturus 7, announced one transmission. "The Pirani from the volcanic systems of Beta Centauri," said another. "The Depthers from the high-pressure worlds of Wolf 359 continued a third, one by one. Species that had been rejected by the Galactic Council appeared on screen, but now they weren't alone. Each one had partnered with their homeworld's intelligence, gaining technologies and capabilities that made them major powers in their own right. "We call ourselves the Cooperative," President Seojin said as the transmissions continued to multiply. "Not because we all think alike, but because we all learned the same lesson. Survival is easier when you work together instead of fighting. You're creating a rival to the Galactic Council," Velthon accused. "We're creating an alternative," President Seojin corrected. "Species that want to join a civilization based on cooperation rather than conformity are welcome. Species that prefer the old way of doing things can continue with the Council. And if the Council decides humanity is too dangerous to be allowed to continue?" asked Nebulon Prime. The emergency session of the Galactic Council was called at 3 a.m, Council Standard Time. Ambassador Jiho had been sleeping peacefully in his quarters aboard the diplomatic station when the urgent summons arrived. As he dressed quickly and made his way to the Great Hall, he noticed something unusual. The corridors were busier than they should be at this hour. Aliens from dozens of species hurried through the passages, their faces showing expressions that ranged from confusion to alarm. When Jiho entered the council chamber, he found it packed with beings who looked like they had been awakened from deep sleep. Speaker Velthon's crystal body was pulsing rapidly with agitated light patterns. The floating cloud being Nebulon Prime crackled with nervous electrical discharges. Even the normally calm tree-like Gixara was rustling its leaves in obvious distress. "Ambassador Jiho," Velthon said without any of the usual formal greetings, "we need to discuss your people's activities on Cathara Prime." Jiho took his place at the human delegation's platform. He had been expecting this call, but not so soon. According to his last communication with Captain Yuna, the colony had been established for only 3 months. "What specific activities concern the Council?" "All of them," clicked Zixtar of the Chitauri. His forearms gestured wildly at the massive display screens that dominated the chamber. "Show him the recordings." The screens lit up with satellite footage of Cathara Prime's southern continent. Jiho had seen pictures of the planet before the human landing, and this was not the same place. Where there had once been chaotic lava flows and random lightning strikes, there was now something that looked almost like a city, but it was unlike any city ever built by human or alien hands. Organic towers that looked like metallic trees reached toward the storm clouds, conducting lightning in brilliant cascades of controlled electricity. The lava flows had been channeled into geometric patterns that formed a vast network of energy distribution. Crystalline structures that seemed to be part building and part living creature dotted the landscape like jewels scattered across black stone. "This is impossible," whispered a small, furry alien from the back of the chamber. "No one builds on Kythera Prime. No one survives on Kythera Prime." "Your people are not just surviving," Velthon said, his voice tight with something that might have been fear. "They are thriving. In 3 months, they have accomplished what we thought would take decades on a habitable world." Jiho studied the images more carefully. He could see human-made structures integrated seamlessly with what had to be native constructions. But more than that, he could see movement. Lots of movement. Creatures that had attacked and killed previous expeditions were now working alongside humans like partners in some vast construction project. "How many humans are down there now?" asked Nebulan Prime, electricity sparking through its gaseous form. 1,000, as agreed, Jiho replied. It was the truth, though not the complete truth. The original agreement had specified 1,000 humans, but it hadn't said anything about the native population. 1,000 humans commanding millions of native creatures, Zixtar corrected angrily. "Look at these formations." The display zoomed in on a section of the colony. Jiho could see the massive crystalline spiders that had been mentioned in Dr. Suman's reports. But instead of the scattered individuals described in alien expedition records, these creatures were organized into complex patterns. They moved with purpose and coordination, carrying materials and energy in what looked like a sophisticated logistics network. "They're not commanding them," Jiho said, beginning to understand what had really happened on Kythera Prime. "They're working with them." "Working with them how?" demanded Velthon. Before Jiho could answer, a new voice filled the chamber. It came from the communication system, transmitted directly from Kythera Prime. The voice belonged to General Kyungmin, who had taken command of the colony's military operations. "Honored council members," Kyungmin said, his voice steady and respectful. "I understand you have questions about our progress. I am prepared to answer them." "General," Velthon said, his crystal form flickering with rapid light patterns, "explain how your people have achieved the impossible." "We didn't achieve the impossible," Kyungmin replied. "We just stopped trying to do the impossible. Every previous expedition to Kythera Prime tried to conquer or ignore the planet's natural systems. We decided to understand them instead." The main display screen switched to show live footage from the colony. Jiho could see General Kyungmin standing on what looked like a balcony carved from living volcanic rock. Behind him, the landscape bustled with activity that defied every assumption the galaxy had made about Kythera Prime. "The planet isn't hostile," Kyungmin continued. "It's protective. It has evolved into a single massive ecosystem designed to manage enormous energy flows. When previous expeditions interfered with those flows, the planet's immune system responded." "Immune system?" Gixara asked, leaves rustling with concern. "Think of it like a body," Kyungmin explained. "If a virus enters your bloodstream, your immune system attacks it. But if beneficial bacteria enter your digestive system, your body works with them. The previous expeditions were treated like viruses. We offered to be beneficial bacteria. How?" Multiple council members asked simultaneously. Kyungmin gestured, and the camera view expanded to show a vast industrial complex that seemed to grow directly from the planet's surface. "We studied the energy flows and found ways to improve them. We offered technology that made the planet's natural systems more efficient. In return, the planet offered us partnership." Chief Engineer Bongjun appeared on screen beside Kyungmin. His environmental suit was cleaner and more streamlined than anything the previous expeditions had used. "We've developed hybrid technologies," he explained. "Part human engineering, part native biology. The results are beyond anything either species could achieve alone." "Show them the defense grid," Kyungmin said. The camera view shifted to show the planet's horizon. What looked like a beautiful aurora danced across the sky. But Jiho realized it wasn't natural light. It was a network of energy beams connecting the lightning rod trees across the entire continent. The planet can now focus its electrical output, Bongjun explained. Any hostile spacecraft approaching the surface would be met with coordinated lightning strikes powerful enough to disable a fleet. You've weaponized the planet itself, Zixtar said, his mandibles clicking rapidly with what Jiho recognized as fear. The planet was already a weapon, Kyungmin corrected. We just helped it become more precise. It can now defend itself without killing everything that approaches. Friendly visitors are guided to safe landing zones. Hostile forces are discouraged. Define hostile, Velthon demanded. Anyone who approaches with intent to harm the ecosystem or its inhabitants, Kyungmin replied simply. The planet can sense intent through bioelectric fields and behavior patterns. It's remarkably good at telling the difference between explorers and invaders. A new alien voice spoke up from somewhere in the council chamber. What about expansion? Surely your people want to spread beyond this single planet. Why would we want to leave? Came a different human voice. This one belonged to Dr. Suman, who appeared on screen in what looked like a laboratory that had been grown rather than built. Cathera Prime has resources and energy sources beyond anything we imagined. The native species are teaching us technologies that make our best science look primitive. She held up what looked like a crystal, but it pulsed with internal light and seemed to be alive. This is a bioelectric storage device created through human-Kitharan cooperation. It can store more energy than our best batteries while repairing itself and growing larger over time. You're sharing technology with non-sapient life forms? Asked a scandalized alien. Non-sapient? Dr. Suman laughed. Council members, with respect, I think you fundamentally misunderstand what intelligence looks like. The Kitharan ecosystem is absolutely sapient. It just thinks on a different scale than individual organisms. Impossible, Velthon stated flatly. Is it? Dr. Suman asked. Your own bodies contain trillions of cells, each one alive but not individually intelligent. Yet together they create consciousness. Cathera Prime works the same way but on a planetary scale. The council chamber fell silent. The implications were staggering. If Dr. Suman was right, then humanity hadn't just colonized a hostile planet. They had made contact with a planetary intelligence and convinced it to accept them as partners. Even if this is true, Nebulan Prime said slowly, how does this qualify humanity for council membership? You have proven you can work with one unusual ecosystem. That hardly demonstrates civilized behavior, doesn't it? Ambassador Jiho asked, speaking for the first time since the session began. What could be more civilized than learning to cooperate with other forms of intelligence, even ones you don't initially understand? But they're not truly intelligent, protested a small blue alien. They're just complex biological systems. By that logic, Jiho replied calmly, so are all of us. General Kyungmin's voice came through the speakers again. Honored council members, you asked us to prove that humans could build something instead of just surviving and fighting. We've built the galaxy's first cooperative partnership with a planetary intelligence.